Alrighty, this is page 93. And on page 93, we get a chance to practice what we learned about dividing mixed numbers. I'm going to use a whiteboard to show my work. You are welcome to try this problem on your own and then use the video to check your answer. Or if you want some hints, you can play the video and hit pause when you think you got it. Question 6 reads, Sheila has 10.5 pounds of potato salad. She wants to divide the potato salad into containers, each of which holds 1 1/4 pounds. How many containers does she need? And explain. Well, 10.5 is our total. That's our dividend. We're going to divide that by the size of the smaller containers, which is 1 1/4. And so the first step in dividing mixed numbers is we need numerators and denominators. We need to get rid of these whole numbers. So a mixed number has a whole number and a numerator and denominator. I got to get rid of that whole number there. So how do I do that? I make an improper fraction. So 10.5 is 10 times 2 is 20, plus 1 is 21. 10.5 is equal to 21, and the denominator stays 2. It's going to stay division for now. Do the same thing to the second fraction. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that is equivalent to 5/4. So step number 1 is I need the structure of numerators and denominators. Step number 2 is I need to remember the rule, which is multiply by the reciprocal. And that's the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I'm going to, instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply, and instead of 5/4, I'm going to invert that to 4/5. Now I'm going to use my multiplication. And I know that it would be a little bit easier to multiply if I simplified my 2 and my 4. They're both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now I have a numerator 21 times 2. That's easy. That's just double 21. It's 42. And 1 times 5 is 5. And 42 divided by 5 is 8, with 2 left over, so it's 8 2/5. So my answer is almost 8 2/5. It's not exactly 8 2/5, though, because of the way the question is worded. So let's go check out. It says, how many containers does she need? I could write 8 2/5 containers. 8 2/5 is the answer. I'm not trying to say it's not. 8 2/5 is the answer. But it says how many containers does she need? So let's think about it. This right here would be 8 portions of potato salad, and this right here would be 2/5 of a portion of potato salad. So one kind of weird answer would be I need 8 full containers, and I need 2/5 of a container. But that doesn't make sense. We're just going to round up to 9 containers. It says explain. Explaining is showing your work. So if you showed your work, then you can just write 9 containers here. Okay, let's move on to the bottom of the page. Alright, so it says solving problems involving area. And this might seem weird to you that we're throwing in area problems in the middle of dividing mixed numbers. But in actuality, if you think about it, the area, I'm going to go ahead and read this with you. The area of a rectangle is its length times its width. So what if we knew the area? What if we knew the area and we didn't know the length or the width? Well, then we'd work backwards, and working backwards from multiplication would be division. So these area problems, if you know the area, we're going to work backwards. So let's go ahead and make sense of this. Example 2 starts with a sandbox, and in fact, I'm just going to draw it. Why not? I'm going to put a whiteboard down, and then I'm going to draw a sandbox. And it's a rectangle, so I'm going to make one side longer than the other. And area is found by doing length times width, and I use a little dot here for times. Okay? So if I knew the length and the width, I would multiply. But what if I don't know the length and the width? What if I knew the length was 8.5? So I'm putting L equals 8.5. And that's in feet, so I'll put in FT for feet. And I don't know the width. And if you're wondering how come you don't know the width, it says right here, what is the width? But what we do know is the area. The area is 56 2/3 square feet. So we know the length, we don't know the width, and we do know the area. So we're going to work backwards. Instead of multiplying, we're going to divide. We're going to divide the area by the length. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So the area is 56 2/3. And we're going to divide that by 8.5. And these are large numbers. So I'm happy to show you. You don't actually have to solve this problem. I just want you to be aware that this is going to be division. So 56 times 3 is 118, plus 2 is 120. I'm going to double check that because I just did that mentally. I feel good about it though. 56 times 3 is 1. I did that wrong. Totally did that wrong. It's 168 plus 2 is 170. So I'm glad I checked so I didn't go down the wrong road. 56 times 3, that makes sense. 50 times 3 is 150. 6 times 3 is 18, so that's 168 plus 2 is 170. So this is 170 over 3. That's going to be divided by 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17 over 2. And then I can see it, I can envision ahead that this is going to become simple. Here's why. If I multiply by the reciprocal, I get 2 over 17. And 17 and 170 share a factor. 17 goes into itself once. 17 goes into 170 10 times. I end up with 10 times 2 is 20. Over 3 times 1 is 3. 20 divided by 3 is 6, with 2 left over. It's 6 2/3. And then the units are going to be in feet. So the answer is 6 2/3 feet. Now, what I need you to recognize here is that if you're given the area, you're going to do the area divided by the other side length. So for example, in this problem, we were given the length, so we're going to divide the area by the length, and that would be the width. That's what we're going to do on these problems. Let's go ahead and go to the bottom of the page. How can you determine if your answer is reasonable? You're going to work backwards. You're going to do the length, which was, I think that was 8.5, multiplied by the width. That's our answer. And we got 6 2/3. And that needs to equal about 56. I can't remember what it was, but 56.5 or something like that. But here's how it's going to work. If we just round this, 8.5 is really close to 9. If we multiply 9 by 6, we'd get around 54. And the area was 56, so we can just use an estimate. So we can estimate the length times the width. And as long as it's close, then we know it's in the, it's because all it's asking is checking to see if it's reasonable. So if we estimate the length times the width, then we're going to get, I know this is 54, just the area was 56 and something, so it's close enough. All right, good job. You're done with page 93.